Hello, and welcome to Design to Manifest, the podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Wentworth. Design to Manifest features conversations with creatives, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, healers, and visionaries who have turned their ideas into reality. Hello, and welcome to Design to Manifest, a podcast about the intentional and sometimes unexpected ways people design the life and the work they were meant to create. Each week, I talk with creatives, entrepreneurs, healers, and visionaries about how their inspiration turned into reality. Today, my special guest is Princess Superstar. She's a rock star, a mother, a rapper, a singer, and a DJ known for her punk rock attitude and razor sharp writing that turns club tracks into unforgettable hooks. She first broke through the UK with Bad Babysitter, a top 20 hit, and then took things to another level with Perfect, which went platinum. Most recently, Perfect found an entirely new fan base after being featured in the film Saltburn, sending it back up the charts and earning gold status in the US. Genre blending, bold, hilarious, and absolutely iconic, Princess Superstar. Welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, what an intro. Can I read that to myself every morning?
Yeah, girl. New mantra. Just remember
Yeah.
all the stuff you've done.
Oh, thanks so much. You're an icon too, Kat.
Oh, thank you. Takes one to know one.
Yeah.
So, Miss Princess Superstar, I'd like to start with asking you, what does design to manifest mean to you?
Well, I think that we have extraordinary powers as human beings as long as we align with the spiritual, cosmic, God, whatever you want to call it. Designing means like having a vision for like what you want to do and then manifesting it. And in my experience, it's not on my time. Like I did vision boards for years and years, and I'm so glad I did them. But for me, it took time to really design the life that I have today and manifest it. It took a lot of trials and tribulations, hard work, purifying the self to be able to receive it.
I think of that song, the LCD sound system song, Tribulations.
Amazing song. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a roller coaster. So, Miss Princess Superstar, I would like to take you way, way, way back to your childhood. Where did you grow up? And as a little girl, did you think that you were going to grow up to manifest the career you have today?
I was born in New York City. We lived up in like Spanish Harlem. And when I was 3, we moved to Pennsylvania. And then when I was 17, I moved back to New York to go to NYU. Here's the thing, like as a little kid, I always was like into performing, would make my parents sit on the couch and do dances to like Led Zeppelin records, like with scarves and stuff. So like I basically still do the same thing, you know. I had no idea though that I was gonna turn into a rapper or a DJ though. That part was real weird. I mean, I went to NYU to become an actress, so like I knew from a young age I wanted to perform and be an actress. And then while I was at NYU, I learned guitar and I joined bands and I was like, oh, I like music better than acting. So I guess you could say it was always kind of in me. But I was also like shy too, you know, even though I did that for my parents, like I was like, yeah, I was a little shy.
Yeah, I think like all kids are, but it's absolutely in you. I think as a creative, I've realized that it's just something that is innate. People are naturally creative. I mean, all of us children are, and then maybe over the years they forget that. So, on your road to getting to NYU, were your parents very supportive of it? Was it like, okay, you're going to do something creative, but you also need to, get a real job? Or like, what was that path like? What was the
No,
vibe?
you know, I was really blessed because my parents were really supportive of all my creativity and were actually super psyched, you know, to send me to NYU and they supported that very much. However, they were always like, you have to have a plan B. You have to have a plan B. Starving artist, starving artist, starving artist, you know, was really drilled into me, you know, but that's just parents' fear. I understand. I'm a mom too, and I'm like, "Ooh," like, my kid is a musician. I'm like, oh, it's a hard life. Can be. It can also like, I've experienced not starving and fucking feasting. So, I think it's important to, like, the messages that we put out into the world because it's like you could actually make a shit ton of money as a musician, and I have. And then I've also starved as a musician. Like, I've had both, you know?
Right. I've noticed that as well. Like a lot of people who have these amazing careers, a lot of times their parents nurtured them, and it's something that early on is ingrained that you can make a living out of this. And actually, having a 9 to 5 job, you're never going to make a ton of money, like you just
Yeah,
aren't.
you can starve at your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That's
Especially
right.
living in Los Angeles.
Yeah, yeah, any major city, yeah.
So when you went into NYU to become an actress, what was the turning point? You said you discovered guitar. What was that? Like, you had a boyfriend who played guitar, you had a girlfriend, you had a friend?
It's funny, I've had so many, like, boyfriend/mentors, like, when it came to music, that I really feel lucky, and I'm grateful to them all because they all encouraged me, you know? And, yeah, it was a boyfriend. He was kind of a hippie. And, he was, like, really into guitar, and I was like, "I really wanna play guitar too," and so I would just play, like, back to the classic rock, right? Like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and all those things, and I learned guitar. I taught myself a lot too, and, I just remember, like, being in acting class and being like, "Ah, I can't wait to get home and play guitar," you know? And then when I graduated NYU, I was, like, auditioning for stuff, as an actress, and I was getting rejected a ton, and I was like, "This fucking sucks," like, and I joined a band, and
What was the name of the band that you joined your first band?
well, my first band was with this girl, we were called Secret Diet Cream.
Amazing.
Great name. And then I met another boyfriend, and we were Milk Finger. After that was my first real band I joined, though, was, like, this band called the Gamma Rays, and it was an all-girl band, and I was a guitar player, backup singer, and there was a singer, and, we were cute. We were, like, kind of like psychedelic rock, indie. We got signed to Teen Beat Records, which was, like, really fucking cool, like, back in the '90s. Bands like Unrest and Versus, like, all really cool indie rock bands. That was my first real band.
And when you were in that band and you were playing guitar and backup singing, what changed? Because you became this princess superstar. So, like, from, playing in that band, what was it called?
The Gamma Rays, and then before that was Milk Finger and Secret Diet Cream.
So what was the point when you were playing in these bands that you were like, "I'm gonna be princess superstar, I'm gonna go solo, I'm gonna be this singer, rapper." What was that change?
That was a really, really scary, like, risk that I took, okay? I was terrified, but I was like, "I really wanna rap, and I really wanna sing," and the singer said to me of the band, "You can't sing in this band, only backup, I'm the singer, and also you definitely can't rap." And I was like, "Oh, shit," and I was so scared to quit that band.
Did she not know who Blondie was? "What do you mean you can't rap?"
I
And
understand, I mean, aesthetically, it really wasn't that type of band, so it's like, whatever. I know, I was resentful for a while, but bless her because that was my start, and I learned a lot in that band, musically and everything. So I was like, "Okay, I think I'm just gonna venture out and try this." Yeah, that I did that. I was terrified, but I did it. And I think that's part of design to manifest, right? You have to do terrifying things.
yeah, you gotta get out of your comfort zone. So can you just break it down for me? Like, give me an idea because you're like, "Yeah, I was terrified and I went on my own," but what does that actually mean? Does that mean that you picked up the phone and you called a club and you were like, "I'm gonna come there Friday night and I'm gonna perform my 3 songs?" Like, what does that look like?
It was like this. First, I told the band that I was quitting, terrifying. Then I had a 4-track. That's how we used to make music back in the day. It was like a cassette tape and you had 4 tracks, and, so I was like, "I really wanna sample music and rap over it," And I just made this like crude tape of like samples that were like disjointed. It was so crazy. I still have that tape, and I was rapping over it, and then I pressed up a few demo tapes, and I called it Mitch Better Have My Bunny, which was a play on Bitch Better Have My Money, which was like popular, in the 90s. And I sent it out to CMJ Magazine because they used to write up about demos. And I sent it out to Grand Royal because I was like, oh, Beastie Boys label might like me. And I put together the artwork and I put together the tapes and I got the addresses and I sent it out as Princess Superstar. A wild thing happened, which was I got 2 responses. It's like that. It really was like the universe was like, all right. Because CMJ wrote about my demo and said amazing things about it, printed my phone number. They used to do that. They like my phone number in the fucking magazine. It was this part in the back called Futures. I had labels calling me. Like, you can't make it up. I didn't get signed though. Like, they took me to dinner, they offered me Coke and stuff, but I didn't get signed. And then the Beastie Boys, some guy called me because I put in this picture of me and he was high as fuck. This guy, Carmelo, he was running Grand Royal and he's like, yo, you got any shows? You look good, girl. Like, he was basically hitting on me. And I was like, yeah, I got a show. And like, I didn't have a show, but I made up that I had a show and then I got a show. So I called up the Pyramid and I got my first show as Princess Superstar, which is where Madonna first started too.
Wow, I did not know that. That is some New York lore right there. Did he come to the show?
Great question. I was so nervous. I got together like a backing band. I was terrified and all excited. My slot was like 2 a.m. There was like 5 people there. And no, he didn't come. But that was the birth of Princess Superstar, 1994.
And where did you come up with the name? Like, it's an iconic name, Princess and a Superstar. Hello, but how did you come up with that?
In the East Village, I got this like vintage drum kit. It was a toy drum kit and it said Superstar on it. And I had that in my room. I just thought it was cool. And when I quit that band, I was like, I need a name. I need a name. And my boyfriend at the time, who was in an amazing band called Uncle Wiggly, and he's no longer with us. Like, oh my gosh, so sad. In fact, I just saw the Pavement documentary. So freaking good. Oh my God. Matador Records, and Uncle Wiggly was on Matador too. Anyway, Bill, he was like, call yourself Superstar. And I was like, that's a great name. And then I was like, no, it's got to be something more obnoxious. Like, we were really like punk rock, indie rock kids, snotty, making fun of everything, zine culture, right? Like, so I was like, Princess Superstar, like just something obnoxious and over the top. Little did I
And
know what it would morph into.
and also there is no other Princess Superstar. I mean, now everyone's hip on like branding and you have to have the handle and the website, but it's like there's no other Princess Superstar. It's like the only one. There's probably a lot of superstars, and there's a lot of princesses. So it was a smart move, from
Thank
early
you.
on.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So after you had that show, from that show until when? Like how many years before you actually started making money at it? Bad Babysitter was your first hit. So how many years until that happened? Like were you making money? Were you still working other jobs? Like, take me through that.
Even though like the major labels were calling me, I never got signed. And an indie label named Fifth Beetle out of Canada saw me and signed me. So 1995, I put out my first record on that label called Strictly Platinum. I remember getting some attention, like it was on Much Music in Canada, and like that was really exciting, like the MTV of Canada.
I remember Much Music. It was like their TRL.
Exactly. Yeah, they loved me over there. Like I did a tour and stuff. That's when I met Peaches. Actually, Peaches
Which is really
Gonzalez.
funny. Can I back up for a second? Which is really funny. You're talking about Canada because full circle, you're in Canada right now on tour.
This
Yeah,
is not
you're in
my
Canada.
tour, guys. This is a fucking hotel.
When you went to Canada, you met Peaches. How did you meet Peaches?
So Peaches, Gonzalez, and Feist were in a band, if you can even believe, called The Shit. And it was in Toronto where I spent a lot of time because I was getting more successful over there. They used to come to all my shows and they used to be at like almost borderline annoying. Like they were like, "Oh my God," like Peaches was like, I love you so much. Oh my God, you're the best performer I ever saw. And like, yeah, because I was real crazy when I performed and stuff. So yeah, those were crazy days, but I wasn't earning a lot of money at all. I mean, I was like still working regular jobs in an office. I was working. After that record, I decided to start my own label, which I did in 1997, and I just did everything. I figured out how to get distribution. I booked my own tours. I worked really hard. And then I really didn't make money until Bad Babysitter broke, which was already on my fourth album. I got signed to K7 Records. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like hard work pays off.
In K7, that's a UK label.
K7 is actually German label.
Berlin, where all the cool kids are.
Exactly.
So whenever that album came out, Bad Babysitter on K7 was a top 20 hit, and that's really what broke you out.
Yeah. Then everything changed. Like I could quit my job and be a musician. Remember, this was already on my fourth album. I was 30. It's kind of amazing. I mean, that's why I think it's so important to just like persist and follow your passion because like you just never know the timing of the things.
So whenever that broke and you were 30 and you were, doing Bad Babysitter, after that, what was the morphosis into being a DJ? Because from there, were you still making records that were more instrumental?
I was really birthed in this like indie rock 90s thing in New York. I started just going heavy into like hip hop because I was like more interested in that as an art form. So I was playing hip hop shows. I was collaborating with other hip hop artists like High and Mighty and Prince Paul from De La Soul and Bahamadia and I loved that. And that's really I like that more than the indie rock scene. What happened was Bad Babysitter broke in Europe. And so all of a sudden, I was performing all the time in Europe, not in the States at all. What was going on in Europe in the early 2000s was just extraordinary because it was the birth of electro clash and mashup and all that. And DJ Hell from Gigolo Records like kind of took a shine to me from Bad Babysitter. And he's like, why don't you come over to Berlin and I'll show you the Love Parade and everything. Now, when you are a hip hop kid, right, you hate dance music in that time. And I was
It's
like,
kind of like
oh,
the kids growing up that was like punk rock or disco, and the punks hated disco.
exactly that. You like disco sucks. Yeah. And it was like dance music sucks. Like I even on one of my early hip hop records, like I was like, I'm gonna slam Daft Punk's voice box into the water. So they're gonna goes around the world. And I was just like, it's cheesy. I love Daft Punk now, but so anyways, as soon as I got to Berlin and I saw the Love Parade and I saw what was happening, I was like obsessed. And I was like, this is so cool. And I was playing these hip hop shows and they were really intense. Like I was opening up for really big rap artists like Dilated Peoples, Beanie Siegel, all this. And the audience was a certain kind of audience, mostly men. And if they liked you, they were like this. And so like they liked me, right? Because I could rap. And so this was the extent of excitement that crowd brought. Now, when I went to Germany and I was like, oh my God, these kids are going crazy. They're throwing glitter everywhere. They're talking about dicks. Like, this is amazing. This is Princess Superstar. And I was like, what do I do? I had like an existential musical crisis because I was like, do I even like dance music? Like, what am I going to do? And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. I could like rap over dance music. That would be kind of sick. that's what I did.
Hello. So, what were some of the first tracks that you did with rapping over electronica? Like, and who were the producers?
The funny thing is on my 3rd record, I did have a song called "Do It Like a Robot," and I worked, with a longtime collaborator of mine, this guy, Curtis, and I was sort of rapping. It was sort of Kraftwerky. So interestingly enough, before I really made the official switch, like, I did have that one song on my record, which, by the way, that was the one song that got the attention of K7 that got me signed. So very interesting that.
Do It Like a Robot, the classic.
Thanks. I'm like, yeah, maybe I should, like, bring it back out or something. It's, like, lost.
Yeah,
That's cool. I'm
definitely.
so glad you know
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so then but really where I really did all of this is on my record called My Machine. So I started making that in 2004, and that was when I worked with really big electronic music artists. Like, I got to work with Stuart Price or Jacques LeConte, who's, like, a genius, fucking genius.
Confessions on the Dance Floor. I mean, wow. Like, he was the producer on that. I love that album. So, it's amazing you got to work with him.
I was really honored, like, I got to go to his house in London, and it was, like, this attic, and, like, you bump your head, like, it was a really low roof and, like, a little tiny space, and he was like, "Madonna sat there." I was like, "Oh, this is amazing." So then I got to work with Junior Sanchez, Stuart Price, and I got to work with Armand van Helden and Felix the House Cat and Arthur Baker. That was amazing. But, that album didn't really do well at all.
And that album was the time when you actually moved from rap and punk and more of the traditional sound that you were used to. So, can you just explain to me after that album, is that when you decided to start DJing?
So I actually was a hip hop DJ in New York, but just hobbyists, right? Somebody had asked me to DJ their birthday party, and I didn't really know how to DJ, but I had vinyl. I collected vinyl because I was into it and I was into sampling. So I brought like a suitcase, like a literal suitcase full of vinyl. It's like really awkward carrying this big suitcase. And I went to this restaurant and I was DJing, and it was, bad, but I would just play cool songs. And the restaurant owner was like, he didn't know who I was, but he was like, "Would you DJ here?" And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "But I don't know how to DJ." And he's like, "That's okay, whatever you're doing." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I had a gig there every like Friday night. It was on the Bowery, a restaurant, and I got paid like $100 and dinner. And I learned how to DJ in that basement on the job, but barely, not very good, right? But kind of. And then when DJ Hal invited me to the Love Parade, he was having a party. He said I could DJ. So then I was like, "Ooh, this is like my first real gig." And then I, DJ'd on vinyl and stuff. Again, I hardly knew what I was doing, but I was a good selector. I learned how to DJ. Alexander Technique, who was the DJ in my Princess Superstar band, taught me how to DJ. And then later also DJ Disco D, rest in peace. He taught me as well.
Amen. Thank God for our DJ brothers. Same thing I learned on the job. My first gig, Lot 61 in New York City. I didn't know what I was doing, but they just liked the tracks I was playing.
Lot 61 was like happening. Like I was just in some shitty ass restaurant.
Well, my very first gig was on the Upper East Side at Jake's Dilemma, which was like dive bar, and then I played it down the hatch. But my first big
Amazing.
gig was Lot 61, and
I love it.
it was cool. I love New York. New York was such a vibe back then. So, talk to me a little bit. Share with me your journey from DJing now and playing electronica. The big hit for you was Perfect. I mean, that song is viral back then, and now it's viral again. Literally, I
Yeah.
hear it everywhere. Tell me about creating that track and, like, who you did it with, who remixed it, like, how it got out there, because what if you're, somebody listening and you're a creator or singer and you're like, "I want a track to go viral," like, and then from when you created that track, how long until it resurfaced?
This is so crazy, this story of the song, because Perfect was originally on My Machine. It was sort of like a disco hip hop song that I'd done with DJ Mighty My who did Bad Babysitter. So I knew it was catchy and everything, but as I mentioned, my machine, which was my big electro record, flopped. Like it was not successful. But we put out Perfect as a single on vinyl because, like, back in the day, like all the hip hop records, you put out your single on vinyl and you add the acapella also on the vinyl so that DJs can play it. And thank God I did that. Gosh, I don't even know where we'd be without that. But yeah, so the record flopped. And then 2 years later, somebody, and we still don't know who, put my vocal, my acapella Perfect over Mason's Exceeder. That was an instrumental track Exceeder that was blowing up in the clubs. And in fact, I used to DJ it. So I knew it. I loved it. I was like, this song's so dope. And then I heard my rap over it and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And next thing you know, yeah, it's going viral as it were back then. We didn't call it that, but it got like really successful. And Ministry of Sound said they wanted to sign the track. So we did.
For those listeners who maybe don't know, Ministry of Sound is the top of the tier electronica music, old OG music labels. So that's amazing that Ministry of Sound came to you and was like, hey, we want to put this out.
Yeah. And give a lot of money, which was really exciting. So they did that. And I signed a contract that was like, I want creative control on this and on any videos or anything. And they said yes. And next thing you know, the track is blowing up. It's like number 3 on the UK pop charts. And they come out with a video that I'm not in. They put 3 models lip syncing it in the gymnasium. And that started going viral on the very new thing called YouTube. This was 2007. And I saw the video and I was crying and I was like calling my manager. I was like, what the fuck? Like, who are these bitches like singing my song? Like, and called up the head of Ministry of Sound and I was like, dude, like you made a video without me. And also it's not like I'm a nobody. This was Ministry of Sound in the UK where it had a chart hit. Like I was number 11 on the UK charts and I played Top of the Pops and all this shit. And he's like, sorry, we just had to rush out a video. And I was like, that's not what it even said in the contract. And then my manager was like, look, this video's blowing up. The song's blowing up. You just have to leave it. But then Ministry of Sound did one last thing, which is that they sent those girls on tour as Princess Superstar, lip syncing my song across the UK and collecting the money.
Whoa, I had no idea that it happened. I mean, it's one thing to make a music video, they're, lip syncing, but to send them out on tour as this is not Milli Vanilli.
I know. Can you believe? So I mean, that was kind of crazy. And I really feel like I have a branding issue to this day. Like people know that song more than they know me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, electronic has always been a little underground. I mean, now 2026, it's so funny that you were in DJs Are Not Rock Stars, which I actually was in after you when you left Alex. We ended up DJing together as DJs Are Not Rock Stars, but it's funny because like DJs are rock stars and they
Yeah.
are like huge superstars. So the fact that they did that back then, that would never happen today. Talk to me a little bit about how you have gotten through all of these ups and downs because being in the music industry is the roller coaster at, high highs, low lows. So what is something that has been consistent? How did you pick yourself up and keep going after that?
Yeah. I mean, you have to really be resilient to do this job. I mean, maybe you just have to be resilient to do life. But, I think it's really like about like spiritual connection and being really grounded, having really good relationships with people and with like a higher power and that kind of thing. Cause like, I don't think you can handle it without that.
At least for me, my coping mechanisms back a long time ago was like drinking on the job. People used to tip me in cocaine and all the things. I used to DJ at Bryant Park Hotel and I would leave there with like an 8 ball of Coke. It was really insane. I never did cocaine until I lived in New York City and people were like, I love this track. Here's a bag of Coke. And It just I was like, "What? I'm from Texas. We don't do coke. We're like good kids. We like drink beer and do acid and take some ecstasy and maybe hit a joint, but cocaine." And then it spiraled and I got sober in 2008. But I'm just wondering, like, for you, what was something that helped you get through all of these years?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm the same as you. I was totally like a drug addict and alcoholic and everything, and luckily, I got sober off of that stuff because there's no way you can go through this on drugs or whatever. There's just no way. Like, yeah, I just feel really grateful because I'm not in that trap of that anymore, and not for a long time. So yeah, that's a blessing, and I feel like that's how come my career could come back because anyways, after I blew up with Perfect and became a big DJ and did another song, Licky, that blew up and all that, around 2011, my career started to sort of, like, wane, and I didn't have another hit, I don't know, it just sort of all fell apart, and then I got pregnant and, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, yeah, I got pregnant, so I wanted to take time." I wasn't like that. I was like, excuse me, like, I lost my manager, I lost my booking agent, and I was, like, trying to keep my career going, but the universe wasn't having it, and, in retrospect, I am so glad that I was there, like, not touring and not doing any of that stuff so I could be a mom, but it was painful as hell, but I kept trying, also released music by myself to like little acclaim. I sort of became nobody all over again. And it was super painful. But I focused on like myself, my spiritual and emotional state and being a good mom and wife. And then, 2 years ago, Saltburn made my song viral again, and I got handed my career back on a silver platter, like beyond my wildest dreams. So, life, you can't make it up.
And I think the lesson in this about being a creative and entrepreneur is the longevity in it. Somebody could make a song, maybe it's a hit, but my point is that the longevity that you've had, because how long have you been making pretty much a living off of music?
I made a living from music between 2000 and 2011. And then I sort of had to get a job between like 2011 and 2024. I would get sporadic money from music still, like a sync here and there on Perfect or something like that, a gig here and there. So few gigs, so few, like can count them on my hands in those 10 years.
But Bad Babysitter, when did that come out?
2000.
Yeah. So, I mean, altogether, you pretty much have spent like maybe 2 decades making a living off of music, which that's pretty substantial.
Yeah. I mean, really making a living though, pretty much only 2000 to 2010. I'll take the 1 decade. And now 2 years. Now 2 years I'm living off music. I don't have to work. That's unbelievable. Thank you, God.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody's lifestyles wane. I mean, people who live in New York, I know you live in Los Angeles now, but a lot of people, they live off of a couple $1,000s a month or, 3, 4 maybe. But it's interesting because for people in music, you can have very high highs in earning. What is a piece of advice that you could give to people who want to have this longevity of this career?
I think like you got to really believe in yourself. You got to do what it is you love and really go for it and make it happen regardless if the world is telling you no or like find a way. Like even in that last decade I talked about where I had to get a job, like a regular old job. I still was putting out music on, whatever, TuneCore and like I just kept going, and keep saying yes, to things like take risks and also work on yourself, create good karma in the world. I feel like I created good karma so that I could get lots of stuff now.
100%. And what are you designing to manifest next? What do you have coming up in 2026?
I'm working on my new album and it's my first record in 13 years. It's really the best music I've ever made though. Like I'm so grateful because of this opportunity with Saltburn and everything. all these big producers are wanting to work with me, which is such a blessing. Like, I can't tell you, like, in that fallow period, I would knock on doors and nobody wanted to work with me. And I just like go buy beats on BeatStars, and and 50 other people have those beats, it's like, and yeah, so I'm working with amazing bugging producers and people. I'm so excited. Yeah, so that's going to come out in the fall. So I'm designing to manifest, a really successful album release. I don't need to be a huge star at all. In fact, I think that kind of is a mind fuck. But what I'd really love is to continue to be able to support myself and my family from music. That's it. A simple goal. Support myself nicely in Los Angeles.
What shows and what tours do you have coming up?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm in Canada right now, but the crazy tour I have coming up is like a 26 date tour across America supporting Lords of Acid, who are from the 90s. And I'm going on the tour bus. So that should be hilarious. I'm going to make lots of content because it's like, what the hell am I doing on a tour bus at my age? And like supporting, it's like not even my bus. So yeah, that's the big tour. I'm also playing LA Pride, which I'm really excited about. And I got a couple gigs over the summer in Europe.
So fun. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to go see you at Pride. That's going to be fun in LA. That's one of my favorite weekends in Los
Yeah.
Angeles is LA Pride. Thank you so much. And before we wrap, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you and listen to your music and all the things?
Okay, well, I'm really active on Instagram and TikTok, and I love DMs. If you want to DM me, I'm at Princess Superstar on Instagram and on TikTok at The Real Princess Superstar. And Spotify, Princess Superstar. And Kat, this was an amazing interview. Thank you so much. And we know each other for a long time, and I love you, Kat. You're an amazing person, and yeah.
I love you too. I'm so grateful for you. If it wasn't for you, I don't think that I would have thought that I could have been a sober DJ because it just seemed impossible. So you were a big inspiration to me. And also just being, a female DJ in general in the 2000s in New York City. And I know, people like me and Louisa, and there's so many, of us, June D. I don't know if you remember her. Like there's
I
so
love
many of us.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. So many of us who like really love that you just keep grinding. That's like the one thing, like you keep making music, you keep being creative. And I love that about you. So keep up the music. Thank you so much. And until next time, keep designing with intention and trusting the path that unfolds. Thank you for being here. Now go out and manifest something beautiful. Thank you for joining me on Design to Manifest. Each week, I feature extraordinary people living extraordinary lives who have designed the life they are meant to manifest. Sometimes intentionally, and sometimes unexpectedly, they share how success and purpose can unfold in ways they never imagined. If this episode inspired you, please share it with someone who might also be inspired. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.